On May 27th, Penpa Tsering was sworn in for a second consecutive 5-year term as president of Tibet's government-in-exile. As the community navigates its future, attention now turns to the increasingly central question of succession.
Surrounded by red-robed monks, the rhythmic beat of ceremonial drums and the measured cadence of ancient prayers, Penpa Tsering took his oath in the foothills of Himachal Pradesh in India.
So even in the case of Tibetan government-in-exile, they always say, oh, Tibetan government-in-exile is not recognized by any government in this world. But legitimacy does not come only from international recognition.
The 90-year-old Dalai Lama was also present, bringing spiritual weight to this moment of transition as the community prepares for a future without his direct institutional role. The 58-year-old Tsering secured victory in the presidential contest in February, winning 61% in the preliminary round, enough to clinch the mandate outright. First elected in the Tibetan Parliament-in-Exile in 1996, he served as Speaker from 2008 until his election as President in 2021. He has since led the Central Tibetan administration from its base in Dharamshala and now begins another 5-year term. Formed after the 1959 uprising and the Dalai Lama's fight from Lhasa, the Central Tibetan administration comprises executive, legislative and judicial branches. The Tibetan Parliament-in-Exile meets twice a year and has 45 members. Of these, 30 represent the traditional provinces of Tibet, 10 represent the major Buddhist religious traditions, and 5 represent the global Tibetan diaspora. The February vote marked the 4th direct election of the exile leadership since the Dalai Lama formally stepped back from political authority in 2011. Now many Tibetans feel a growing urgency to support elected leadership for their future.
Now, in our speech today also we have requested the Tibetans inside Tibet, starting from household, to keep the Tibetan language and culture and religion intact. And that's exactly what China is doing with the ethnic unity law, which is a very positive name to all these things, but it's very destructive in nature because it has the whole idea of this legislation is to destroy Tibetan or other nationalities' identities.
Beijing, however, maintains that it must approve the Dalai Lama's eventual successor, whereas the Dalai Lama and the Central Tibetan administration insist that the Tibetan people themselves have the sole right to determine their spiritual leadership. It is to be noted that the Dalai Lama is regarded by Tibetan Buddhists as the 14th reincarnation of a spiritual lineage dating back to 1391. The Dalai Lama has been living in India ever since the 1959 Tibetan uprising. Looking forward, Tibetans in exile remain determined to preserve their identity, culture and voice, even as questions of leadership and succession continue to loom large.